Welcome, I'm Darren, and I'll be your guide today as I rank the worst rookie card designs of 1995 across all four sports. So this is a list of the 5 worst designs, this is a list of the 7 worst designs, and there's another card I cannot let off the hook. So the first honorable mention is not a card that really fits with the others, but there are 5 cards that I think are the 5 worst, and there are 2 that really should be on the 5 worst list that are only off because there are 7 total to look at. But the one that is on the outside of all of that, the first of the honorable mentions, which is Finest for Basketball, is one that annoys me on a personal level. And that's really the key to it being on here. The reason I have such a problem with this card is because it is a card with so much potential. See, Finest, until 1997, they never made a really good Finest card. There were certain times when cards carried through moderately well. I mean, in 1995, the football rookie cards actually aren't that bad. They're pretty decent. I love the 1992 designs. So there are certainly cards in the Finest, in the first 5 years of Finest, that I think that show the potential that the card technology, the Chromium technology, provided. 1995 with Basketball, they have a blue border that is serviceable for a Finest card. But then these rookies, I mean, look at that. It's got a copper frame really on the outside with an inner frame with gold. Right there, right off the bat, you finally have color combinations that work right with Chromium. So you're off to a great start, and it creates a picture frame to look at whether it's a portrait or an action shot. Chromium doesn't really do a good job of celebrating the shot of a player. It doesn't work for that. It works better for interesting effects. So you're not really showcasing the player, which means you have to do a good job of presenting the player, framing the player with something behind, and that's where this card becomes an absolute train wreck. Because when I look at the backdrop, first off, the kid in me gets all excited because it's got bright colors that are really cool, and then the kid in me steps back and allows the analytical side of me to go, it ruined the card because it flattened it. That's the problem. It flattened the image because the frame is supposed to have something inside that's kind of separated back, but it doesn't do that. It comes right to the front, and it blends in basically with the frame and then diffuses the frame, so the frame doesn't get to do what it's there to do, and the player just kind of gets lost in that color effect. And so that's the problem, is whenever I look at the card, I go, oh dude, they were so close to finally having a good card, and then they ruined it with the color backdrop that just shouldn't have been there in any capacity. I really wish they hadn't done that. If they had like a cloud background or something, that would have been better. Or if they had even taken the fireworks they used in football, that might have worked too. But whatever they should have done is not what they did, and instead this just became one big flattened waste of an opportunity. And that's disappointing. And so that's why I say this absolutely needs to be on this list. Even though it doesn't fit with the others, it's still, I just gotta rub this in Topps' nose. All right. Speaking of Topps' nose, we also have Stadium Club. And so with Stadium Club, I'm starting off with football. The football design, here's the thing. I like the idea. With football, what they wanted to do with their Stadium Club rookies is to show basically behind the scenes camp type shots. And that in and of itself is actually a cool idea. Now, for the rookie card of the player, no. Do that as its own subset where you're celebrating that they're working their way up to becoming a pro player. In fact, here's an interesting idea. You remember how in the 1980s they had in-action cards where they would have a shot of the player and then the next card would be an in-action shot? Why not do the same thing where you have the rookie card and then you have the camp shot of the player? That'd be really cool. That's what they probably should have done, but that is not at all what they did. So instead, this is the rookie card of this upcoming legend. And that is a problem because it doesn't carry you image-wise. It doesn't celebrate. I mean, you don't even necessarily know what team the player is going to be on. But then you have the design feature at the bottom. And so if you do have these camp cards, you need to design to the card that kind of gets you in the mood of that. This, on the other hand, is something that is supposed to work with a great image. So you have a great image, and then this is just kind of there competing with the great image. That's what it's supposed to do. Instead, it has nothing to compete with, and so it's just kind of doing whatever it's there for. I will say, at least it looks like it's supposed to be a part of the card. That is the one thing that saves this card, is that when I look at it, I go, okay, it's not a good card, but I get it. I absolutely get it. The other honorable mention is basketball, where Stadium Club absolutely stank the joint up. Here's the problem with this card. So you have the image of the player, which the images do tend to be pretty good in this set, but then they have the strip down at the bottom, and the strip has a prismatic foil on it, and it doesn't fit with the card. In no way does it fit with the card. It looks like it's a sticker slapped onto the card. That's the best way to describe it. It doesn't fit with the card itself, the rectangle, doesn't fit with the image, doesn't fit with anything. It is desperately trying to do something, anything, and well, the bigger problem is actually the prism, because I look at that and I go, oh, so that's the parallel. No, the parallel is a solid gold holofoil. That's the parallel, which is better, but not a lot better. Instead, this prism card, it doesn't fit in any way with the set. And I like the 95 designs for Stadium Club in both football and in basketball. And then you get these turkeys that with football, they already had a subset that kind of got you in the mood. But here, this doesn't look anything like it belongs with the rest of the set. In fact, Stadium Club in 1995 had a lottery pick card set that wasn't papery, but it was a very thin, bendy card that looked like pack filler, because that's really what it was. This card looks like it should also be pack filler. That's really what the card seems to want to be. And the biggest crime that this card has, just how bad that feature on the bottom is that when I did the basketball video, after I recorded the video, I was processing the images, and I was in really close working on this, and I remembered, oh yeah, they have that eraser mark thing around the outside of the player. So all around the outside of the player's presence on the card, they have these weird streak things that are just dumb. And yet that patch on the front of the card, the design feature on the front of the card, is so annoying. You don't even see that. So an already bad part of the card doesn't even matter, because that feature at the bottom is that distracting. That's not good. But what's really surprising is, look, we're only talking about the honorable mentions. I haven't even gotten to the 5 worst cards, which doesn't bode well for what we're going to be looking at. So we move on to number 5, and we've got Sportflix, specifically UC3. Okay, so again, I like the idea. The concept of this is that Sportflix was finally starting to figure out how to do some cool 3D effects. And in 1994's football design, we were beginning to see them actually experiment with that. And so in 1995, they made UC3, which was entirely designed around that kind of an idea. So they wanted to have like baseball gloves and bats and balls and stuff like that that had this 3D effect going on, which is, for what it, in and of itself, perfectly fine. The problem is that it would work well for a subset or maybe an insert set, not for a rookie card, because when I look at this card, I think, well, now, wait a minute here. This is the grand celebration of, like, let's take A-Rod. All right, so a legendary player, here's his great grand rookie card, and now we're supposed to be really celebrating the beginning of his great career, only this is a card he doesn't even appear on. I mean, oh, okay, he might be somewhere in the middle of the card, somewhere, who knows, but, you know, come on, man. If you're going to make a rookie card of a player, you, especially somebody who is going to be successful, you want the player to at least be a prominent feature of the card, and here he's not. Instead, I look at this card and I go, you know what would have been cool? If Sportflix did a parallel of the set where they had these as the parallels to the main cards. So the main cards looked more traditional, and then you had this as a counterpoint. That would have been cool. Instead, this is just kind of what they did for the cards, and so it fails at doing the one thing a rookie card is supposed to do, which is to present to you the rookie. Not at all good. Okay, so that's 5. Now, number 4 is a card that surprises me or it disappoints me it's at number 4, not because I need to move it out of the spot, but because I need to have it in the spot, and I get that. That's Pinnacle for baseball. So the problem with the Pinnacle card for baseball is that this is a card where the images are better than the Stadium Club cards that we saw for basketball. The big difference is that with these cards, that gold foil band at the bottom, you cannot see anything on it at all. I mean, okay, if you move the light just right, you can see that there is something imprinted on it, but I mean, Pinnacle was already doing some really cool effects with gold foil in this set, and these cards, you can't read anything. Why? Which means it's just a big unadorned patch. At least with the Stadium Club basketball cards, you can read it. You can absolutely read it. When you look at the card, there's no confusion what you're looking at. You're good. You got that. It doesn't look good, but at least it looks like something. When you look at the baseball cards here with Pinnacle, it doesn't show that at all. You also have that finial, which doesn't really make sense. It just kind of comes out of it. And to me, when I look at this card, it looks to me like when they were printing it, the die didn't quite strike and there's something missing on the card. This is the backdrop, and there's supposed to be like printing on the front or something is supposed to be here. But no, this is the finished product. I don't get it. And because of that, it doesn't fit with the card, the image of the card at all. At all. This is a card that is even more annoying to me than the Stadium Club card for basketball. That's definitely not a good thing. So again, it's a waste of a good image with a card design that just doesn't make sense at all. And it's a shame that they didn't do what they did in football, where they just used the normal Pinnacle design and just do something that says rookie. That's all you need to do. In this case, they went and tried to do something totally different for reasons I'll never understand, and I am not a fan. But we can't let Score Pinnacle off the hook, because we got to move on to number 3, where we get to, well, Score for football. All right, so this is a card that is... they did the same design in baseball. And in baseball, I think it worked. Partially because they had the pro uniforms, and partially because the images tended to work well in the design when you look at the baseball designs. Whereas in football, the images don't quite work, but the college uniforms don't look like pro cards. And they didn't, here's the big problem, they didn't do anything on the front of the card for the pros. That's not to say this is unusual. All the way back in 1990, they were doing that. 93 was probably the only year where they tried to make a little bit of a change from that. But basically, every single year, they just had these college players featured in the card set. But at least all the other sets looked like they were a part of the set. Here, it doesn't. So when you run into these cards, it's a jarring card that looks, to me, actually like a signature rookies card, maybe a superior picks card, because one of those two sets actually did have an insert set that looked very much like this. That's what it looks like. Look, slap a helmet on there or something that gives you the feeling that the pros are related to this player, because it doesn't do that. Every time I look at the card, it's a design that doesn't work with the images. The images don't work with the set. The design doesn't fit with the set. You've got the team on the back. Why can't you put the team on the front? Is it really that hard to do that? I really wish that they had done anything else, but it gets too bland with that. All right, that's number 3. Number 2, well, we can't let Score Pinnacle go quite yet, because we still have to get to Sportflix itself. And this could be either football or baseball. Which is more annoying? I don't know, because they're both pretty much the same impact, because at least with football, they do have the players in their pro uniforms, so that helps. But the effect on the card is kind of blurry, and that actually works to the strength of the effect, because it creates a really uniform movement of the colors. So, okay, I acknowledge that. But that fuzziness doesn't help, because it means that the whole background is fuzzy. And it's kind of a weird void, but there's nothing on it. There's no feature. There's no frame. There are there's the Sportflix logo, but it doesn't really do anything strong. And so you have the picture of the player, and then there's this void behind that really does feel like an endless void that's detached from the player, and the card feels incomplete. Plus, the colors aren't good. The red and the green I like. The problem is the yellow really, it jaundices up the card and diffuses the strength of the colors, and it's not a good color combination. If they'd used white instead of yellow, that would have helped. If they'd done a red, white, and blue card, that'd have been really cool. But instead they went with this, and it just really tanks the potential for, I don't know what potential the card would have. I'm glad that they tried it, but I wish they tried it and went, oh yeah, that doesn't work, and done something else. I really wish that, because it just doesn't look good at all. But it's not a number one, because number one has to be Collector's Choice. So yay to Upper Deck for absolutely nailing the worst card design, or worst rookie card design of 1995, because the Collector's Choice card continues a tradition they started in 1991, where they kicked off the football set with players in college uniforms. I don't get why they did that. And by 1993, they went away from that, so that the 93 set, 94 set, 95, they started off with great looking rookies that look like rookies in the pros. But starting in 1994, Collector's Choice inherited the college uniforms, and by 1995, that was what we were getting. And here's the thing, this is how the set starts. Who in the world wants to start off a professional football card set looking at these cards and going, okay, this is going to be a great set? Because the cards don't look like college cards, they don't look like pro cards, and when you do a full bleed card, the image has to carry the card, and that doesn't usually work with college cards unless you're entirely in the mindset of the college team, in which case, yes, that can absolutely work. But here, how does this celebrate the beginning of a great set? With Upper Deck, the cards they kicked their set off with looked great. Here, they don't. And so every time I start one of these Collector's Choice cards, card sets, and I start going through, it just feels like a cheap letdown of a card, or a card set. It almost looks like I'm starting to look at classic cards, not Collector's Choice cards. So it really bothers me that this was, in my opinion, kind of a cheap workaround where they went, oh, let's do a full bleed image. That'll look great. Okay. And then they just slapped some images in there that were serviceable. And I will admit, they do have the team name on that. So, there is that. But that's the thing, is it's serviceable. This is no way to celebrate starting off a set. And remember, this is from a card set whose whole legend is built on, they started off with the Ken Griffey Jr. rookie card right at the beginning of the set. He was in his Mariners uniform. You hear that? He was in his Mariners uniform. That's their legacy. And in football, that was not their legacy. Instead, it was this. If you're going to do college uniforms, you have to make it work. We're in the pros. You've got to emphasize that. And this is a card that really falls short. But I am definitely running on, so I'm going to bring this to a close. But yeah, this is my list of the list of the 8 worst rookie card designs of 1995 across all 4 sports. So, be sure to let me know in the comments below if you think that I am unfair on any of these, which I highly doubt is going to be the case. Do look out for the image polls coming up. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. And thank you very much for watching.